The Milwaukee Bucks have fired their coach, Adrian Griffin, former Celtic. He is out. He's out. The Bucks fired Adrian Griffin today. Currently 30 and 13 on the season, the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. Just to give you a betting perspective, the Bucks were the 3rd worst team against the spread in the NBA. So they weren't winning close games. It was interesting. But the Bucks, 16, 26, and 1. Obviously, their performances were not up to expectation. I find it an interesting approach for Milwaukee. Clearly, Giannis runs that team. They moved on from Coach Bud, who was a coach of the year a couple of years ago. They bring in Damian Lillard. It's really not working. They're getting crushed in transition. Are they a 3-point team? I don't know what their actual identity is. But a couple of things I wanted to bring up. It's an interesting approach for them. Back in 2015-16, Cleveland was 30-11 and in first place, and they fired David Blatt. They went on to win the NBA Finals. Is that Ty Lue? So they ended up going to win the NBA Finals. They made the move now. Here's my question, Celtics fans. Would the Celtics make that same move if Joe Mazzulla had more in-game issues? And would they pull off that approach? It looks like the next in line now to take the Bucks job is Doc Rivers, who's been known to really work well with big personalities, but yet has not got out of a championship round in forever. Since the Celtics. I'm just bringing up the fact is Milwaukee did it. Would the Celtics do the same thing to Joe Mazzulla? If, I don't know, Tatum and Brown weren't seeing eye to eye with him or didn't like the philosophy. Look at all the coaches they brought in this year. Sam Cassell, Charles Lee. You got Jeff Van Gundy up now working with the team. Do I think Joe Mazzulla should be fired for anything he's done this year? No. Are they the best team in the NBA this year based off talent alone? Yes. Did they pull out a really hard-nosed win last night? Absolutely, on a back-to-back. They responded after losing a game on Friday, a game where when things get tight, they looked like the team from a year ago. I'm not saying it was a good loss or anything like that. I do think they'll bounce back, and they have. But I can give you 3 instances this year where I think the coach came into play and cost the team the games. Golden State's one of them, no doubt. That Pacers game, bad. And then just Denver the other night. Like last night, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were outstanding. And they had to bounce. Jaylen Brown's bounced back from his 13-point performance against Denver with a triple-double and then 30 points last night. So I asked the question. The Bucks fired Adrian Griffin today being 30-13 and the number 2 seed. And knew it wasn't good enough and fired him and will probably bring in Doc Rivers. Could this same potential thing happen to Joe Mazzulla? I feel like it's a talking point because it happened with the Bucks, Skaz. That's why I'm bringing it up. I'm not saying to fire Mazzulla. I'm just wondering if the Celtics would do it.
I think for a couple reasons they wouldn't, because they re-signed Mazzulla. We know he got like a 3-year deal or something. They announced that last year. So I think that's part of it. And I also think the thing with the Bucks is you're bringing in Doc Rivers potentially. Is that better? Do we really think that's an improvement?
I don't know.
But that's the point.
I don't know.
Are you going to screw up being first place in the East to hire Doc Rivers?
Do I think they'll still win 50 games after firing Griffin and Doc there? Yes.
But that kind of proves my point, too, where, the head coach in the NBA doesn't matter, kind of. It shouldn't matter. If I know, people don't want to dive deep into the numbers and look at the shots and everything like that, but if you look at the fourth quarter they had against the Rockets compared to what they did against the Nuggets, the plays they ran and, how they executed well, I shouldn't say how they executed, but the plays they ran and stuff like that were all very similar. It's just the execution was much different against Denver than it was obviously last night against the Rockets. So I just think this is kind of a panic move, and the Celtics are not in a spot to panic. They should be, comfortable where they are. They should, take pride in being comfortable in that driver's seat. They made it a point this year to be better at home, to rest these guys, to take care of them. You're in first place. You've lost one game at home to the defending champs. Let's not fire the head coach.
No, listen, I want everyone to know that. I'm not sitting here saying fire Joe Mazzulla. I'm questioning, would they do it since the Bucks panicked? The Bucks are in panic mode. You're right. They don't have it figured out. Giannis didn't like Griffin, and what is Dame doing? Who's the point guard?
Maybe he was like trying to cut Thanasis or something, and Giannis just wasn't having it. He was like, this guy, we're playing this guy.
Yeah. So, because it happened elsewhere, I'm bringing up the talking point here. This is what we do. Storylines elsewhere. How does it affect your team? I don't think the Celtics would move on. And I do think, to your points, guys, it looks like they have things in control. Like they lost, they bounced right back. So things are calm here, and they're very confident. And that's probably why they wouldn't move on from Mazzulla. I'm just asking the question. If ownership felt like he couldn't do it in big games, would they make the move?
I mean, I think you have to lean yes, because they brought in Charles Lee. They brought in Sam Cassell. They didn't bring those guys in for no reason. They brought them in, I think, to empower Joe Mazzulla, but also, break glass in case of emergency. Just in case things did head that way, you have maybe the two best assistant coaches in the league on your bench.
Just another thing. They fired their coach today, and Miami goes and gets Terry Rozier. Those are moves that are to beat the Celtics. What do the Celtics do now?
The Celtics shouldn't be worried about the Heat. The Heat have every reason to be worried about the Celtics. The Celtics, I mean, I know they have a Heat problem, but if we're, end of the season and they're in another 6-7 game series with Miami, that's on the Celtics. Like, there is no reason for that to happen again. And we all know it probably will, because that's just how these things go. But if I'm Brad Stevens, I'm not looking at the Miami Heat roster and saying, "Oh no, they got Terry Rozier. I need to
scary Terry.
He's going to show up in his Drew Bledsoe jersey again." Yeah, good for them. I do think it is a good move. It does make another team in the East better, but I don't think Brad Stevens is losing sleep over that one.